Welcome to Strange Weekly News. In this show, we take a look into the news and headlines to pick out curious reports of the strange, the weird, and the mysterious. Anything from UFO news to science advancements, the paranormal, and stuff labeled fringe science and fringe phenomena. Each news item we go over in the show, I will place all the links to them in the description box below once this live show is over, as well as chapters and the timeline index. Hello and welcome to everyone watching this live and to all of my first time viewers and listeners as well, and even those catching this on replay. Hi there. Right here on this channel, we do 3 live shows every single week. So please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and like the shows you watch by hitting that little thumbs up button right down below. I'm going to share my screen here and let's get into this. Are you ready? Are you excited? I am. Now, this man right here, he is the president of the Dominican Republic. Why is this relevant? Because UFOs came up this month right there in that cute little tiny island country. Let's talk about it. Because in the Dominican Republic, there was a fascinating dialogue that has emerged between the president of Luis Abinader, the guy that we're seeing right here, and individuals interested in UFO sightings, notably one of them being a Puerto Rican ufologist by the name of Renaldo Rios. And so during a press event earlier this month, one question about the existence of UFO sightings in the Dominican Republic, the president responded with openness, noting that no current reports have been made public, but there is an interest in further investigation. And concurrently, Rios, known for his investigations into extraterrestrial phenomenon, more specifically in Puerto Rico compared to the Dominican Republic, was conducting research in Mocha, and he revealed a video from 2014 to 2015 claiming to document an alien visitation in the area, referring to the Dominican Republic, sparking both local and international media attention and discussing about potentially establishing a dedicated UFO landing site or a UFO port in the Dominican Republic. This particular story has been making its rounds in more international news compared to the news in the United States, but I actually could not find that video that is being referred to in all of these news reports where it's really just copy and paste. They're not really adding any extra information. And I tried looking for it, I couldn't find it. And I'm like, this is kind of odd, but we still have to address this because this is significant. So Rios has been vocal about his beliefs that the Dominican Republic is under extraterrestrial protection based on numerous interviews with locals who shared their alleged encounters with aliens. And if we're looking at this president's face right here, I don't know. He has like that kind of secrets of yes, I know of ET, but I can't tell you anything. That's just kind of the face that he's giving in this image. Now, is that true? Am I reading too deep in between the lines? Depends who you ask here. But with this, Rios called on the president of the Dominican Republic to publicly recognize these phenomena due to their global importance. And furthermore, Rios has offered his expertise for any future governmental hearings or investigations into these sightings, aimed to bring attention to what he perceives as significant extraterrestrial activity within the country. Question is, we have to ask ourselves, who is Rios, this ufologist? He's been in the South American news for a handful of decades, since the 90s. Now, when I try to look up information on him, he doesn't have a website. There are no books published that he's written. There isn't really a paper trail on his research. And I thought it's one of two things. Either one, he's being suppressed and maybe from the United States and we can't find information on him, or he's just here for a little bit of fun and that's about it. Which one is it? Now, when I was beginning to dig a bit deeper into him, he has done a handful of interviews on Puerto Rican news media outlets, Dominican Republic media outlets. He's done a few interviews with Spanish podcasters, and there he's able to talk about his research. But if you were to type in his name today, right now, on Google, on DuckDuckGo, whatever search engine you use, The only thing that will currently come up is this briefing that took place in February of this year and him pushing to have the Dominican Republic create a UFO port. He's done this exact same thing in Puerto Rico back in 2005, and we're seeing that image right here where he wanted to create this extraterrestrial route sign in Lajas. I did a whole show on the mysteries of Puerto Rico, and if you are interested in that topic, I do highly recommend that you do watch that live show from, I think it's like 2 months ago. So it's still pretty fresh. And so this is what he's is known for. It's for the research in gargoyles and the chupacabra, also in UFO sightings in Puerto Rico. But then he made his way to the Dominican Republic and said, "Look, you also need to create a UFO port because." The Dominican Republic is being protected by extraterrestrials based off of the data I've collected speaking to witnesses in that area. But there is no paper trail, at least that I could find, on the data that he's collected. Now, will it be released at some point? I really do hope so. But at this point in time, there isn't one. But his fame actually, so I said the 90s, kind of when he got his bigger fame when it had to do with Puerto Rico, but he really came into the public back in 1978 when he belonged to a group called Universe Station, a club for Puerto Ricans who claimed to have been contacted by ET. So that's how he got into this whole topic, is because he believes that he was contacted by extraterrestrials. And since then, he has worked on building a center for UFOs in the southern part of Lajas, which has been which even has landing strips for alien spacecraft that he created in the 80s and 90s. And then up until 2005, we're able to see this sign right here. And then in 1993, he began to organize monthly UFO camps to entice experts and curiosity seekers from Puerto Rico and elsewhere to take part in public capture sightings with photos and videos and going out at night and hopefully to be able to see something with their own eyes. And then on one occasion in December of 2010, he organized a gargoyle hunt in the old sugar mill in Puerto Rico on the southwest coast, and a project which he planned to confirm the existence of a supposed mutant that attacked animals in the area, and this was captured by local media. He did a handful of interviews. He spoke about his project during that time frame in 2010, and you are actually able to find that on YouTube. And he's done some more recent interviews actually talking about what he did back in 2010. So that's a little bit of information there that more countries are kind of being put in the spotlight when it comes to the UFO conversation. Now, when it comes to the Dominican Republic, it was very difficult to find documented UFO sightings, and I actually could not find any. Now, if you have family there, or if you have a book or a resource that talks about the Dominican Republic and UFO sightings, please send it to me on any like a platform, or you can also email me as well. That link is below because I do want to know more about it. Now, when it comes to Puerto Rico, you have some pretty interesting stuff going on there. This next one has to do with SpaceX, and this one is actually very, very cool. And Ulf, thank you so much for the URB fund. Thank you for that. And also, Matthew, thank you for that PayPal as well. You are so kind for supporting the channel. And everyone that's watching this live, enjoying the shows, you're so awesome. Okay, talking to you, you're very cool as well. And I do want to say hello to people in the live chat, and thank you as well, because I'm seeing some really great comments. Secrets in the box, says Bob. Maybe. But this one, if you didn't watch yesterday's show called The Vulnerability of Earth, then it's going to be new information to you. So, a U.S. spacecraft attempted a lunar landing liftoff early Thursday from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, the second such private-led effort this year after the first ended in failure. And so Intuitive Machines, the Houston company leading mission IM-1, I am referring to Intuitive Machines, hopes to become the first non-government entity to achieve a soft touchdown on the moon and and to land the first US robot on the surface since the Apollo missions more than 5 decades ago. This is cool in some aspects, but in others, this is not. Why? Because private companies, private organizations, you can't place a FOIA on them. So if they were to find anything bizarre, maybe even ET technology or ET contact of some kind, they don't fall under the umbrella of a FOIA request, which is a Freedom of Information Act, compared to the government. And so this is where it gets very difficult, and a possible reason to why a lot of government companies contract private organizations, private companies, because they know the public can't say, hey, such and such, in this case, Intuitive Machines, we want to know all your information that you've collected about ET since you landed on the moon. They'll say, sorry to hear that, buddy, but we're not the government, so you can't do that to us. You see the issue there? There's a big one. But in other ways, this is still kind of exciting, and let me explain why. Because it's hexagonal shaped, the Nova Sea lander named Odysseus blasted off on top of a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket shortly after 1 a.m. local time. And the IM-1 mission, initially set for a Wednesday launch, faced a delay due to abnormal temperatures detected by SpaceX during fueling. Now, despite this, NASA confirmed the successful launch of the Nova Sea lander, which is now on its way to the moon as we speak. And this mission, highlighted by NASA on social media, utilizes a novel propulsion system based on supercooled liquid methane and oxygen. And this advanced engine allows the lander to reach the moon swiftly, minimalizing exposure to the Van Allen's belt high radiation levels, which in that case, it's very cool. But it continues because Trent Martin from Intuitive Machines emphasized the significance of this mission as a pioneering step towards returning the United States to the lunar surface, a milestone not achieved since 1972. And this destination, which is known as the Malapert A crater near the moon's south pole, with the landing scheduled for February 22nd. Now we have to ask, the information that they collect, will it be made public? It's hard to say here. So far, I don't think so. But this mission supports NASA's Artemis program, aiming to establish a long-term lunar presence and utilize lunar ice for water and rocket fuel as well. And so Intuitive Machines was contracted, listen to this, they were contracted by NASA for $118 million to deliver scientific equipment to environmental hazards for future astronauts, with manned missions planned no earlier than 2026. We are familiar with this information since probably 2020, where NASA began contracting private companies in order to get payloads onto the moon for the Artemis program and for the future of being able to place your more average Joe onto the moon and make it habitable. So we've known about this for a while, but now we are able to have names and we're able to see the progress of it. And so if you're interested, that rocket will land on the moon February 22nd. And it was just launched yesterday on February 15th. So, in addition to scientific instruments, the lander carries a digital archive of human knowledge and 125 mini moon sculptures by Jeff Koons. But why? Why? Post landing, the mission's payloads are expected to operate for about 7 days until the lunar night commences at the South Pole, at which point the Odysseus will become inoperative. Okay, so that's a bunch of information, but this is why it's relevant, because when we're comparing this kind of technology to other countries have already been hitting the moon. And we're over here, the United States, and we haven't been able to, at least from public knowledge because China has landed 3 times since 2013, India in 2023, and Japan was the latest, being last month, though its rocket had struggled to stay powered on after a wonky touchdown and left its solar panels pointing the wrong way. And that kind of sucks right there. But Intuitive Machines has 2 additional launches scheduled for this year, 2024, while another Texas company by the name of Firefly Aerospace has one as well. So we're just getting more of these private companies coming forward and say, hey, I want to be a part of the moon research, and maybe, just maybe, it might be good real estate and I could own a chunk of it. Okay. That's their mentality, probably. And so with this Firefly Aerospace, they want to get their shot in late 2024, carrying a NASA rover to the moon's south pole. And NASA is increasingly purchasing services rather than hardware from commercial partners, unlike during the Cold War when it had nearly an unlimited budget and dictated contractors down to the last bolt. So we are seeing that change there from government to private contractors and just having a bit more of a budget compared to the Cold War and the space race as well. So that, I thought, is definitely necessary to talk about when it comes to strange news. And the timing is what is significant here. Because in this last month, we've been getting some really interesting UFO news, and especially with Representative Mike Turner talking about a threat and then saying, oh, Russian satellites a little bit later. Well, at least the White House made a comment on that almost 24 hours later. And then we have SpaceX launching 2 rockets that were classified missions with a handful of probes on them that were kind of like the idea, the mission was for the Space Force along with these private companies as well. So this is what's getting kind of interesting. And if you're enjoying the show, please hit that like button right down below. And Easy, thank you so much for that. I do really appreciate it. So if you're enjoying the articles that we're covering thus far, let me know by hitting that like button right down below. P says, I guess sending sculptures is better than sending dead bodies. Yeah, you know what? I like the optimism there. Yes, very much so. And for those that are like, what is he talking about? Just to give you a little bit of context, there have been several rocket launches going into space where they have shot up like bones, ashes as well, and it made people feel uncomfortable. So in this case, yeah, sculptures are a bit better than dead people's bones for sure. It is. Chris says people are missing the big picture here. Why isn't anyone asking the question, why take human data in artist work? You are bringing up a solid question because everything has a purpose. Everything has a reason. We're not dealing with people that are in kindergarten with the kindergarten mentality. These are people that know what they're doing here. And so the question is, why send human data now? Why send artist work now? And this isn't the first time. NASA's also sent up Snoopy, Barbie, Legos, tree seeds that end up coming back to Earth, and a few other items as well. And, to the public, they might seem very random, but to NASA and these private companies, there is a purpose behind it. Now, what is that purpose? They haven't told us yet. Will they ever? I hope at some point. It'd be nice to know. I don't want to be left in the dark. And as NASA said, we're going to be transparent and you can bet your boots. Thank you, Bill Nelson. So when are you going to start showing me the paperwork, the paper trail, and explain to me why human data and why artist work? Are you going to be transparent then, Mr. Bill Nelson? Serious question. It really is. So this next article that we're going to be covering has to do with the Baltic Sea. Now, you might be familiar with the Baltic Sea anomaly, and if not, don't worry, we will just give you a brief background on that. But this is interesting, and I'm also going to just kind of give you human timeline as well to tell you why this is so relevant. Because researchers have uncovered what might be Europe's oldest known human-made megastructure beneath the Baltic Sea off the coast of Germany. And this ancient wall, as we're kind of seeing right here on screen, I mean, maybe to the average eye, it might look just like a bunch of rocks. But if you have a keen eye or maybe some contacts, you might be able to see the significance of this structure because this ancient wall extended almost a kilometer on the Bay of Mecklenburg seabed, was discovered unexpectedly during a sonar survey conducted by scientists on a student expedition approximately 10 kilometers offshore. Named the Blinker Wall, closer examination revealed it comprises around 1,400 smaller stones strategically, and that's the key word, placed to connect nearly 300 larger boulders, some of which have been too um, cumbersome for human groups to transport. And we're going to give you some numbers on that as well. Because this is lying 21 meters underwater. And this fascinating find is believed to have been built by hunter gatherers, in quotation marks there, more than 10,000 years ago. Remember that number? Because we're going to touch on that in just a moment. And originally, this was built on dry land next to the body of water, so the structure's purpose remains pretty speculative, but it is thought to have been used as a corridor to herd reindeer, creating a natural trap that funneled the animals into a vulnerable position for hunters. Now, this is genius. Okay. If this is the mentality of hunter gatherers 10,000 years ago, that is brilliant if we are comparing it to our known human timeline that the wheel was invented 5,500 years ago, but this wall that is supposed to herd in reindeer was created maybe 10,000 years ago. How can you have the mentality of to herd any kind of animal using pretty big rocks, but you can't invent the wheel? Do you see the logic there? Because there is none. And I have more to give you a better timeline on this because also the transition to agricultural societies and the end of the hunter gatherer lifestyle began around 11, 10, 12,000 years ago, with the rise of civilizations following gradually as these agricultural communities developed and grew. Now, Mesopotamia, the best known civilization and be the oldest based off of our basic human timeline, was created 5,000 years ago. Do you see what I'm saying here? Göbekli Tepe, which we don't really have an explanation on how hunter gatherers created that, was 12,000 years ago. And the end of the Ice Age was about 11,700 years ago. So I'm throwing out these numbers, and you're like, Christina, why are you throwing me all these numbers? I'm not good at math. It's okay, me neither. I got you on this. So let me just repeat that this megalithic structure, this wall that was found in the Baltic Sea, is dated to about 10,000 years ago. And some of these rocks are ginormous. For instance, further investigation into the wall, which measures 971 meters in length and weighs over, listen to this, 142 tons in total, suggests its formation is unlikely to be natural. Really? Right? Interesting. Given its deliberate construction and orientation, and the discovery documented in the proceedings of the Natural Academy of Sciences hints at a sophisticated level of prehistoric engineering, potentially making the Blinker Wall one of the earliest examples of hunting infrastructure globally and the oldest known large scale structure in Europe. Now, the Baltic Sea has some pretty wacky stuff in there. For instance, Let's go ahead and share this image because we are now looking at the Baltic Sea anomaly. And this was discovered back in 2011 by the Swedish Ocean X diving team. And it is a very mysterious object found on the seabed of the northern Baltic Sea at the center of the Gulf of Bothnia, and initially thought to be of more non-natural origin due to its unusual features and shape, which kind of looks like the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. Scientists then began to say, no, it has to do with glacier movement. I mean, this looks supernatural because of glaciers, right? If you are to look at this with your own eyes, you don't even need glasses for this. You're seeing very straight lines here, very artificial looking lines. I'm sorry to tell you, but I don't think glaciers did this. And it goes to show that one, the Baltic Sea is pretty mysterious, but two, only 10% of our oceans have been mapped, scanned, explored, leaving 90% in the category of unknown. What else could be in the Baltic Sea that we are not aware of? Could there be other megalithic structures that even date back further into time, maybe before the Ice Age? Because in this case, for the wall was 10,000 years ago. The last ice age ended 11,700 years ago. So there's still so much to understand and to know about our oceans. But the Baltic Sea is just one of those locations that you're like, maybe I need to get a scuba diving license in order to get down there. But this is really deep, by the way. So getting down there, you won't be able to see this. Is only through sonar that we're able to see this image. And I do have another one. Let me pull this one up for you. Just give me a moment. Where is it? Give me a sec, because I do want to show you a bit more detail on this one. Here it is. Okay, let's pull this one up for you. For those that aren't familiar with the Baltic Sea anomaly, here you go. Okay, and you're able to see these images of how it looks. And this, compared to the first one I showed, you're able to see much more detail here. And yeah, you can try telling me a glacier made this, but these lines, these perfectly straight angular lines here, it looks like a spacecraft. Does it not? We don't have the carbon dating on it yet on how old it might be, but it was discovered back in 2011 on this one. What's also interesting about this is that the image shows what looks like a trail right behind it. Maybe you can see it kind of here on this image in particular. You are able to see a slight trail right behind this image. And the question is why? Now, could that part be glaciers? Maybe. But the line work, even that little bolt as well? I ain't buying it. But what about you? Have you heard of this anomaly before? And what do you think about it? Let me know in the live chat. Please let me know in the comments as well. I do try to read all of the comments. And if I have a question and you can answer it, put it down below. It's not only beneficial to me, but it's valuable to everyone else that reads your comments because they might have the same questions as myself. Bob says, fossilized spacecraft. Maybe. Easy says, hey, did anyone drill into it? Not to my knowledge. Will that information even be made public? I doubt it at this point. But so far, there hasn't been a lot of public investigations on it, aside from the that diving team that did accidentally find it just less than a decade ago. But what's interesting about this is that the funding ran out for the group who discovered it. Coincidence? I think not. Not for this one. So getting into our next article here, let me take this down and let me show back this next image. And while I do that, I do want to let you know, and actually I really don't like doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I really don't like plugging like funding and stuff, but Patreon, I swear to you, it's worth your time. Not only do you get behind the scenes, but you also do get free exclusive merch that you cannot buy, you cannot find anywhere else. And it does greatly support the channel and the RV fund as well. Plus, you get cool merch. Like you can't go wrong with that. So if you want to support the channel, the best way to do it is through Patreon, and that link is right down below. So now I want to show you this next image. And this particular article, it's funny and awful at the exact same time, depending on what kind of humor you have. Some people have dark humor, and I'm not going to judge here. But this one, I actually made a YouTube short or a TikTok, whatever you want to call it, on it, because I just thought it needs attention on this. Because in simulations run by OpenAI, its advanced AI chose to launch nuclear attacks, justifying its aggressive actions with simplistic rationales such as a desire for peace. And this occurred amidst the US military's exploration of AI with large language models known as LLMs for military planning in simulations, collaborated with companies including Palantir and Scale AI. So OpenAI, despite previously banning military applications of its AI, has started cooperating with the US Department of Defense. And this shift underscores the importance of understanding the potential military uses of LLMs, according to the Stanford University. So the study, and this is where it gets crazy, because the study involved AI's role playing as countries in various scenarios, choosing actions from peaceful negotiations to nuclear attacks. And the research highlighted the AI's tendency for military escalation, even in neutral settings, and raised concerns over their unpredictability and the simplicity of their justifications. Do you see what's going on here? They're like, nuke it. Come on, guys, let's go for it. Why? Because you know what? It could be peace. All right. We got to see the bigger picture here. And nukes equals peace. I don't think that's how it works. But notably, the study tested several AI models, including OpenAI's Chat GPT 3.5 and 4 as well, which showed that without specific safety measures, these AIs could act unpredictably and even nonsensically as well. So the findings caution against relying too heavily on AI for critical military decision making, emphasizing that while AI can offer mere recommendations, humans should remain the final decision makers. That right there is a no brainer. Obviously. But they have to make that super clear in this paper because some people don't have common sense. We're seeing it right here as well. So, the study's implications suggest a need for careful consideration on AI models in military strategy and the importance of maintaining stringent safety and ethical guidelines. Because while we might think AI is like the best thing ever and it's super duper smart, it's not always rational, it's not always ethical, and it doesn't have emotions. People are going to say it does. Okay. One guy from Google a year or two ago said that Lambda had emotions and then he got fired for it. Yeah. And it's going to just continue with that mentality of people are going to have relationships with AI. It's already happening. You have dating apps like I think it's called Replicant. I don't know. And you can just have a relationship with an AI thing that you create on all of your desires and whatever. It's already happening. But they don't actually care about you. They don't care about the bigger picture. And they think so far with its current programming that nukes, they're the answer. You only need to shoot up what? Five or 10 to destroy the entire planet. Easy. And there's how many? I want to say like there's a little, it's in the tens of thousands of nukes that are stored all across the planet. You don't need that many to just ruin everything. And if AI was in control, they would press that red button in a heartbeat. The fear is there. Now, will they actually get a hold of that? Will that actually happen? In this case, only time will tell for that one. But so far, on the simulations done, they want peace, and they want peace with nukes. This next one, it might look like taro rice, but it ain't. No, because the dinner plate of the future might include some beefy rice. No, not beef and rice, just beefy rice. So, in a new study, researchers in Korea say they've created rice infused with muscle and fat cells from cows. And this hybrid grain purportedly contains more protein and fat than typical rice. Uh-huh. And the team argues that it should be cheaper and more environmentally friendly to produce than beef and rice combined. Sasha, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. That is so nice. Thank you so much for that. I I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this, especially looking at this pink rice image. My tummy is saying no. My taste buds don't know yet. I haven't tried it. My brain is going, Christina, what are you thinking? Are you really going to try that? Are you really going to ingest that? Then we got to think about all of the wacky foods that we eat now that are so beyond processed, but taste delicious. And you can probably think of one right now that you know is a guilty pleasure. This it's in that same kind of category. But in this case, for these Korean researchers, they're saying it's not just carbs and bad for you filled with chemicals, but it has muscle and fat cells from cows and it contains more protein and it's more environmentally friendly than beef and rice. So they're throwing in all the pros here. But I think I'm still going to eat my bag of chips and my Cheez-Its on the side, even though I know it provides no nutrients to my body. So, one avenue of research that the authors were curious about was hybrid food, or food that combines vegetables and animal ingredients. Some teams have already experimented with these existing products, like textured vegetable protein, which is a soy based flour product that resembles meat, also known as TVP. You can actually buy it at the store. And yes, I actually have some in my cabinet because if you can season it right, it actually tastes pretty darn good. And so, but the team theorized that rice might be especially appealing medium for fusing with meats since it's naturally containing a mix of macro and micronutrients that isn't a common source of allergy, unlike soy and other common meat substitutes. And we can even bring in like lab grown meat. That throws a lot of people off. Also, the Impossible Burger has had a fair share of very bad reviews filled with so many unpronounceable chemicals. And people are freaking out about this. Could people freak out about this beefy rice as well? Do we really know what's going in it other than muscles and fat cells from cows? Possibility is maybe. Ad Astra per Christina. Thank you for that, Sasha. That is so nice. You're great. So, what do you think about this? If given the opportunity, maybe you're a taste tester. That's like a dream job of mine for ice cream. Oh, yes. Okay, but imagine you're a taste tester, right? Would you grab a spoonful of this knowing that you're going to get paid for it? Or if your friend says, hey, check out this new thing I just bought, do you want to try it? Would you go for it knowing what it is? I want to know. I think, honestly, I absolutely love trying new foods. I do. It's like the highlight of my day. Whenever I go to the grocery store, I buy one new brand new item and I either love it or I hate it. Would I try this? Yes, I would. I would. Now, would my brain agree with my taste buds? Probably not. There would probably be a bias there of like, you know what you're eating, Christina? This is kind of grody. And I'll say, you know what? Worth a shot. Um, here's a little fun fact about myself. That's not even like UFO related at all. But in my free time, aside from playing very like brain activating apps, people on my Patreon know about it. I also really like watching. This is so freaking random. I like watching sumo wrestlers eat. There's this one channel, it's literally called like Sumo Food, and it's these sumo wrestlers from Japan that do these like wacky workouts and then they just like eat the rest of the day. And I told myself I was never going to be that person that like enjoys watching people eat. I think it's the weirdest thing ever, but I made an exception. And if they were to eat that and tell me, "Hey, it's delicious," as they say, I would try it. Okay? But to be fair, they eat really well and they give me all of these ideas of like new recipes to try. So I watch it for the educational value to cook recipes more so than like watching them just like gorge their face with food. That part's kind of weird. But with the chef eye, I'm trying out new recipes. Some of them turn out absolutely garbage. Other ones, French kiss, pretty good. No, chef kiss. Someone corrected me on that once, and I was like, man, I've been embarrassing myself this whole time. It's a chef kiss, not a French kiss. And I apologize in advance for the cringe I just provided to you. But I don't think I even asked that question. Okay. I know I did. Would you try it? Would you give it a shot? I know people were like, what the heck? I know. I know. It's bizarre. But now you know, okay? And I'm getting like warm and flushed here. Tim, thank you so much for that. Thank you. I do appreciate it. Stargazer says the Impossible Burger is a silicon and petroleum based food. Yeah, it doesn't sound very healthy. It doesn't sound very good for you. That's probably why it's called impossible, because you probably shouldn't be eating it. Oh, Pretty Patties. Jack's bringing in the SpongeBob references. Yeah, those look really nasty. But my SpongeBob at heart would say absolutely yes. But now I'm like, maybe not. Initial, thank you for that as well. You're so kind. But hold on. Cindy says educational value. Now I've heard everything. Yeah. I can't dig myself out of that hole now. Now you know. Pukwudgie rice? What? No, don't make Puck into rice. Like, don't even eat him. Okay. Trucker says, delicious, lol. That's exactly how these sumo wrestlers say it. Like, I'm saying it exactly the way that they say it. It's not delicious. They say, delicious. And I'm like, yes. Okay. Um, now I can't unsay it. All right. So I have another one for you. And this, let me share my screen here. This one, oh, here's another image actually of that beefy rice, and you got syringes. And when you have food and syringes, there's a big fat no label on that. Right now, it hasn't been approved by the FDA. By the way, if you were wondering, hasn't been approved just yet. Okay, but this one was sent to me by Chris James, a big fan of the show, a mod, and a supporter. He sent me this article, and it's interesting because it has to do with a stingray, and her name is Charlotte, and she's located far from her natural habitat in a North Carolina aquarium and has become a subject of scientific interest after becoming pregnant without any contact with the male for over 8 years. So, this rust colored stingray, the size of a serving plate, resides 2,300 miles away from her home waters off the Southern California coast, and this is an educational aquarium run by Brenda Rammer's nonprofit team ECHO, which is ECCO. And the phenomenon behind Charlotte's pregnancy is known as parthenogenesis, a rare form of asexual reproduction where offspring develop from unfertile eggs, eliminating the need for a male's genetic contribution. So, despite the initial thought of an intersex mix up with small sharks in her tank, so they're thinking, maybe we're getting some hybrids between stingrays and sharks. No, that didn't happen because experts confirmed the impossibility due to the anatomical and genetic differences. So parthenogenesis, while mostly observed in insects, fish, amphibians, birds, and reptiles, presents a significant learning opportunity. And Katie Loins, That's how you say her last name. A research scientist highlighted that this case is unique but not entirely surprising, as nature has ways of facilitating reproduction, and this process involves a female's eggs fusion with a polar body, a cell produced during egg creation, which then triggers the development of an embryo. This is wacky stuff. It goes to show that nature can do whatever it wants, okay, with very little rules. And we try to control it to the best of our ability, putting things in labs, trying to figure some stuff out. But there's still so much that we don't know. For instance, the Amazon rainforest, it's one of the biggest rainforests on planet Earth, and only 10% of it has been explored and scanned, very much like our oceans, leaving that 90% filled with cryptids and lore and unknown species that are being found frequently. I'm not going to say every day because that's not true, but frequently enough to where you can get a handful of papers a year on it. And I just want to say thank you again, Chris, by the way, for sending that. And if you that you're listening or you're watching, if you come across any strange news story, anything mysterious or just totally weird and want to submit them to me for this show, just send it to me via email or on the Discord server. Those links are in the description box below. And if it's weird enough, I'll mention it and I'll tell you, hey, so and so sent it to me. Say thank you to them. So please do that as well, because that I want to know. My eyeballs are big, but they're not that big. And Mysterious Mysteries, thank you for that. Happy Valentine's late day. It's my birthday, so I missed the stream. So much partying. Happy birthday, Mysterious Mysteries. I'm so glad you could still spend it with us right here, right now. You're late, but you know what? You still made it, and it shows priorities. So rock on to you. Thank you for that. Happy birthday as well. Chris, my pleasure. I'm so glad that you sent it over to me. Nui says it's rather weird. It is. It's in that bizarre category, but we have seen it before, as it had mentioned in the article, with insects, fish, amphibians, birds, reptilians, and also with plants. It's more prevalent in plants compared to any kind of animal, but Chris bringing in the joke. Katie Loins is a convo about reproduction. Yeah, when I read it, I was like, am I saying this right? Because I had the same mentality and I thought, yes. Bob says, if they can do it this way, why do it the other way? Serious questions there. Okay, very legitimate. Tyler just made it. Welcome. Glad you can make it. Rock on. So I have some honorable mentions because this one's weird. I don't want to spend like too much time on it, but it's in that honorable mention category. And Ginger Turtle, thank you for that. Life finds a way. Jurassic Park quote. I love the nerds in this live chat because yes, Jurassic Park is a classic in all aspects of the way. So this one is an honorable mention, and we are seeing a man stick 68 matchsticks in his nostrils. What makes you think at any point in your life, let me see how many matchsticks I can place inside of my nostrils? He's 39 and he was going through the Guinness World Record and he was like, which Guinness World Record can I break or which one can I create for the first time? And he was like, you know what? This one. This is my go to. Why? Because I got a big nose. I got big nostrils. My nostrils are stretchy. Let's give it a shot. So his goal was 45 matchsticks. And he was able to stick 68 in there. And he says, I don't think I can break this record. But as you know, when you get older, your nose grows bigger. So do your ears. And that's not a myth. Supposedly it's a fact. And it never stops growing with all that cartilage that just keeps on going. So maybe in a few years, maybe 10, he might be able to stick 69, 70 matchsticks in his nostril compared to 68. Would you give that a try? I just feel like it's very toddler mentality because little kids, babies, they stick things up their nose, in their ears, in their mouths all of the time. But then you hit a certain threshold in age where you realize that it will give you discomfort in any of those areas, right? It might create you to bleed or sneeze or anything else, right? And then you stop doing it. But some people never grow up. And that's like a Peter Pan quote there, which you don't want to grow up too much because then you become like really boring. You stop asking curious questions. But there are some things that maybe, just maybe, there's no need to try in a lifetime. And then my last honorable mention is that the Super Bowl, okay, the commercials, six of them had to do with UFOs. I did an entire show on Wednesday breaking down all of those commercials that mentioned UFOs and then going into detail on them. If you haven't watched it, that's one that I really do recommend. Why? Because the Super Bowl was the most watched show since the lunar landing in the United States, with almost 200 million views that watched at least half of the game. And with that, you have a lot of eyeballs watching in, tuning in, not just for the game, not just for halftime, but also for the commercials as well. And six out of the, what, 30, 40 commercials, six of them had UFO messages in them. The question is why? Why? And they were all created by different agencies as well. It wasn't just one agency creating all these UFO themed commercials, it was different ones. Why do that now? Because it's trendy, it's in pop culture, it's cool, it makes money. Or is there another reason behind it? Or is it multiple layers? That one's up to your interpretation. That's for you to decide. But it is a show that I spent a lot of time on. And if you're interested in looking in between the lines when it comes to pop culture and UFOs, that is one show that I do highly recommend that you watch. And it was just published on Wednesday. So it's fresh. It's brand new. And the Super Bowl, for those that are outside of the United States, took place on Sunday, last Sunday, pretty recently. So, those are the main things that I wanted to cover today. Out of all the articles that were mentioned, which one was your favorite? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know in the comments. I do try my absolute best to read all of the comments. I think for myself, my favorite article, it's kind of a toughy one. I really enjoyed about the megalithic structure that was found in the Baltic Sea, but I also really liked that AI always chooses violence. Okay, always nuclear wars. I shouldn't be laughing when I say that, but it's comical now, but it won't be comical when it really does happen. But it's one that I thought, eh, Terminator, all right, iRobot, all these sci-fi movies that have to do with AI. Yeah, it's turning not into science fiction, but maybe at some point science fact, and that ain't cool. But I do want to know from you, which one was your favorite? Nick says the matchstick guy. All right. All work and low pay says, I'm going with the meaty rice. Okay. All right. That one was interesting. Stargazer's also staying the matchstick nostrils. I'm glad I made it into an honorable mention then, because it seems to be going up there. Gerald says that the rice. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it was interesting, right? Yellow, banana, we're on the same wavelength. The Baltic Sea anomaly is cool. It is very cool. I enjoyed that one as well. Let's see. The Pepto rice says Chris. Yeah, I like that one. Stingray says Wolfgang. The Stingray also says Jessica. Tyler, you missed everything. You missed everything. Got to rewatch it. Chris bringing in the facts. He liked all of them, and let me tell you, that is the only right answer. So you won brownie points for that one. I do want to say that all of my social media links are on this QR code if you are watching this on video, on a video platform, in a video format. But also on there, you're able to catch my music channel where I make space ambient music. It's called Cosmic Portals. I make all of it to help with my insomnia, and hopefully it can help you with that, or with meditation, with relaxation, or using your imagination to wander the universe. Once again, that YouTube channel is called Cosmic Portals. I want to say thank you to all of the super chats, super stickers, YouTube members, Patreon supporters, and all of my amazing moderators. And of course, even those catching this live and even on the replay as well. You know, I cannot do this show without you. So make sure to scan that QR code, and also take a look at my Patreon just because you are able to see a lot of behind the scenes when it comes to doing these shows and like the inside of my brain as well. But also, you get really sick new merch that you cannot buy anywhere. And it is the best way to support me and this channel. And if you're enjoying it, that's a great way to do it. If not, just liking the show makes a big difference as well. And of course, subscribing. That is it for today. I will see you next time. Be safe. And remember, keep your eyes on the skies.